You're watching Capitol Connection from the Illinois State Capitol.
At least 30 veterans at the LaSalle Veterans Home have died due to COVID-19, and nearly 9 in 10 of the residents and staff there have been infected. We've already detailed how the breakdown of those protocols occurred, but Congressman Adam Kinzinger has leveled a weightier charge that actually the state of Illinois rejected federal help from infectious disease experts weeks ago and could have done more to stop the spread. He joins us now, Congressman Kinzinger from Capitol Hill. Thank you for joining us. Can you elaborate? You said the state of Illinois kept saying no, apparently over and over again, if I understand your words correctly. What's the evidence and the timeline there? How did that happen?
Well, it's interesting. There's a lot of conflicting timelines, even from the governor's office. Here's what we know. At the first day of November, we had our first case. We know that just a few days later, they did a routine surveillance, found that a lot of the staff was infected. We know that the first person from the Illinois Department of Public Health did not show up until November 12th. So that's significantly after that. And we know that on November 19th, my staff and Senator Sue Rezin had a call with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, which said that they have an offer on the table for help to help the state of Illinois, but that they haven't heard yet. Now, the governor's timeline says that they'd first heard the offer of help from the 19th. So I don't know what we've been basically asking for days is different than the governor saying that's the first time that showed up. But there's a couple of concerning things. Number one, why did it take a week and a half for the first person in the state of Illinois to come visit the home? At that point, you had a rapid acceleration. And then secondly, once that offer, even if the offer was put down on the 19th, it's still 5 days till the expert shows up. We know that our own local infectious disease person there had COVID themselves, so there was nobody on the ground there. And look, we just need answers to that. The bottom line, if there's an intergovernmental process that took 2 weeks and takes too long, we need to know that. But it seems like there's a lot of conflicting timelines here.
But you'd like to have seen a faster response?
Well, I know this. I know that on the 19th, we were briefed that they had an offer to send somebody on the table, and they've been calling the state daily and have not heard anything until that point. It was accepted a little later, and then the person showed up even later than that. In terms of accepting PPE, that's great. That's very different than the timeline we're talking about. We're talking about bringing in an infectious disease expert when your own current expert is out with COVID, so they can't be on the ground. We know that the inspection of the home found a lot of things that were wrong, including hand sanitizer that didn't kill COVID. And we know that from basically the first kind of massive outbreak until the first time anybody from the state of Illinois showed up was 11 days. And so I'm not saying this to level, massive accusations, except to say that those are the kind of things we need answers on. I mean, the governor, I know, made a big deal in his campaign about what happened with the Legionnaires outbreak in Quincy. I just think we need answers to this. If it's not the governor's fault, that's fine, but we need to find out where that is. An IG report, which the governor's commissioned, Inspector General, that's great in the long term, but that takes 4 to 6 months. We have a real issue now. And if it's an issue on the federal side, that's something we need to know as well.
Mm-hmm. Do you know enough today to say that that delay itself might have been deadly?
No, and I'm not going to lay that accusation out. I think that's bombastic. I think the thing we need to do, though, is get to the answer of this. Why is it that it took 11 days once the first report happened for the state to show up? And why did it take so much longer for the federal government to get the official invite to come in? I don't know the answers to that. And I think that's the basic thing we want to know. Did it cost lives? I think leveling an accusation like that at this point, nobody intentionally did anything like this, I think is very important to say.
Well, and I do want to be clear. We have outstanding requests right now trying to get to the bottom of this, because when you said that people had denied federal help, we wanted to find that evidence. We wanted to look for it. We have yet to see that evidence. So I just want to ask again, do you have, because you're saying right now you don't know what happened in that delay or in that window, but you also said that the state over and over again said, no, we don't want help. I guess I don't see the evidence for that yet, that someone actually said, no, outright, we don't want it. The state, the governor's office is saying they accepted the help at every turn.
Yeah, they're saying they accepted help. It had nothing to do with what we're talking about. What we know is that on the 19th, we had a call with the federal government that said an offer is on the table. They're calling the state daily, and they have yet to receive basically permission to come in with they're experts. If that's not evidence, I don't know what is. If you need an email, if you need a text message, I'm not sure if they emailed or text, but they said that they've been calling at the 19th. So that to me is clear evidence that we at least need answers on that, and we should go from there.
Certainly, it's tragic what happened there. You've also been critical recently of Republicans, including President Trump, who have made baseless accusations about the election and the results there. There's another Republican in Illinois, Darren Bailey, now a state senator-elect, a representative, who had some words for you.
Got many Illinois Republican leaders throughout the state calling for Donald Trump to step down, calling for him to give up. That's appalling. Adam Kinzinger, a U.S. congressman from the northern part of the state, seems to be leading this charge. He's been calling for quite some time for Donald Trump to just give up, concede, and get out of the way. Get on his Twitter and Facebook's accounts and tell him to get his priorities straight if he's a Republican, otherwise change his party.
I wonder if you can respond to Senator-elect Bailey.
Well, I mean, it sounds like he's just trying to get some attention or trying to set himself up for whatever that is. That's fine. I understand that he wants to be known. But the bottom line is this. What I analyze everything I do through is, I think you can have spirited battles in politics. I think you have to have spirited battles in politics. But the thing that this country has always held dear is that we have peaceful transitions of power, that we accept election results. If you have evidence of fraud, that's very important to bring out. But if you don't, accusations alone don't count. And that misinformation itself can be devastating to a country that governs itself. And I'm going to continue to be clear on that, as I have for 10 years in politics, quite honestly. My accountability is to my district, to God, and that's it, not to Mr. Bailey or anybody else. And the bottom line is I want this country to succeed. And the ability to have a peaceful transition of power is key to that.
The transition of power is one part of that. The other part that he seems to insinuate or heavily imply is that to be a Republican is to be inherently loyal to Donald Trump, the brand, the party itself being a one-man party. How does the Republican Party move on from here under a Biden administration, and how do you resolve those internal party conflicts?
So there'll always be internal party conflicts. You have two parties that represent, for all intents and purposes, almost 400 million people. You're always going to have differences. I'm just going to continue to try to be more optimistic, and I think showing people a vision of what the future looks like, what conservatism really is. And I'd put my conservative credentials up against anybody any day. But the party, frankly, when you swear into the Constitution of the United States, I've done it both as a member of Congress and I still do it as a military officer. That is what I swear an allegiance to, not to any party and not to any man. And the bottom line is, while President Trump may have done some good things, he lost an election. And we move on from that, and the party will survive longer than I'm even on in this earth.
Can you beat J.B. Pritzker in a race for governor?
I don't know. I haven't thought much about it, honestly. I know there's chatter out there. It's not my intention to run statewide. I think, some of the things I've been saying that have led to this kind of fire, you just have to look at the last 4 years and see that I've been outspoken from the beginning, and will continue to be. I don't know what the future holds. I don't rule anything out, but I'm certainly not sitting around giddy planning for something like that.
Well, reading your criticism of the governor recently in this outbreak, of course, the outbreak just happened, so it's timely. But 3 weeks ago, you also, before this outbreak was largely known, you said if the stars align, you'd look at it, you'd think about it. So here we are today. Maybe candidates don't declare until March or April. How do those stars look to you now, and what would it take for you to throw your hat in the ring for a race like that?
What it takes is looking at something, knowing you can make a difference. You're the right person to do it, and you have the heart to do it and the energy, and
and the funding to beat a billionaire.
And the funding to beat a billionaire as well. And but the bottom line is, look, I honestly am not sitting around searching for this. I'm not planning for it. This is more other people bringing this up in the media and talking about it and speculating than anything I've ever done. The fact that I can criticize both President Trump and the governor when something like this happens in my district is not an indication of anything, except I'm trying to do my best to represent, the 700-some thousand people I do.
All right, Congressman Adam Kinzinger joining us from Capitol Hill, your first time on Capitol Connection. We do hope to have you back. Thank you for your time.
You bet. Take care.